Amateur radio is a wonderful hobby in which licensed radio amateurs across the world communicate with each other using two-way radios. For becoming a licensed radio amateur, you need a license from the regulatory authority in your country. In India, the regulatory authority is Wireless Planning and Coordination Wing of the Department of Telecommunications under the Ministry of Communications, Government of India. Regular examinations are conducted and you have to qualify the examination as well as get a license from the WPC before you start operating an amateur radio equipment. Amateur radio equipment are of various types. There are simple handheld walkie-talkies which allow for a short distance communications, and with the same walkie-talkie, if you have a directional antenna, you can point your signals to satellites like International Space Station going above your head at specified timings, and signals go from the walkie-talkie to the International Space Station and down to the Earth another location, and you can communicate between radio amateurs using amateur radio satellites. Typical example is communication through the International Space Station. I also participate in that, and I'm very happy to communicate with my friends using amateur radio on International Space Station. Then there is something known as shortwave radio or high frequency HF radio. Communication through International Space Station is using VHF, very high frequency, and ultra high frequency radios, which could be handheld radios or base stations at your home, which need external antenna. In case of shortwave communication, you have the radio at home and the antenna is outside, and the antenna sends signals to the ionosphere of the Earth, that is a layer of the atmosphere with ionized particles, ionization depending on the solar activity. So it will send signals to the ionosphere and bounce off the ionosphere to the Earth, and then from the Earth again to the ionosphere, and multiple bounces will take you, or rather your signal, across the world to the other side also. For example, I can communicate from my home to a station in United States of America using shortwave or high frequency radio. Now, what is the role of amateur radio in this era of internet and advanced telecommunications? You can easily communicate with your mobile phone as well. This is a hobby which has been there for over a century, and the importance comes that it is an experimentation hobby. That is, you can advance your technical knowledge, you can make your own radio and communicate, you can make your own antenna systems and communicate, as well as learn a lot of this technology of communication. That is not all in amateur radio. There is a more noble cause in amateur radio. Whenever there is a natural calamity, the communication infrastructure in the region can sometimes crumble. Mobile phone networks can go, electrical power can go, and you may have a situation where the only mode of communication which is possible is amateur radio. This has occurred several times globally. During such major calamities, natural calamities, when infrastructure for communication may not be working, amateur radio operators often provide volunteer service to the community in the form of emergency communication. During the recent Wayanad landslide disaster, several radio amateurs provided volunteer service in the region. One of my friends was called upon by the district administration to provide a vital communication link between the district headquarters and ground zero, where there were no communications tower at that moment. After a few days, communication towers were established, and then the role of amateur radio operators was only standby support. But in the early hours after the disaster, our own radio amateurs in this region could provide vital communication link using handheld and base stations between the ground zero and the office of the district administration. That is an important role of amateur radio even in this era of so much technological advancements. In India, any person above the age of 12 years can appear for the examination known as ASOC examination, Amateur Station Certificate Operators Examination. Indian citizens between 12 to 18 years need an undertaking by their parent or guardian to appear for the examination, while those above 18 years need not have this undertaking. They can directly appear on their own for the examination. There are two grades of examinations. One is restricted grade with lesser privileges and lesser power output of the radio, while general grade provides all the facilities provided for radio amateurs in India. These examinations are conducted at wireless monitoring centers across the country. In Kerala, we have one at Thiruvananthapuram, and in Karnataka, there is one at Mangalore, and there are several other monitoring stations across the country. There are also international monitoring stations where you can appear for the examination. But you have to be a citizen of India to appear for this examination for license in India. Now, there are two examinations for restricted grade and general grade. And for restricted grade, there are two papers. One is Section A, Basic Electronics, and Section B, Radio Regulations. While for restricted grade, you have to appear for an examination of 1 hour duration each with 25 questions. In general grade, there are 50 questions and the examination duration is 2 hours. You can appear for both examinations together as well. The fees is only just 100 rupees, and if you apply for both exams together, you can appear with just 200 rupees. So fees is very nominal. For restricted grade, you have to get 40% mark in each section and 50% in aggregate. While for general grade, you have to get 50% in each section and 60% in aggregate. That is how you qualify for the examination. For general grade, in addition, you have to qualify a Morse test, that is a telegraphy-like test, Morse code, which is international Morse code, which we all sometimes use for communication. And currently you need that, but the regulation might be revised. And whenever you are applying for the examinations, you have to visit the Saral Sanjar portal. That is the place where you apply online for the examination. And when you pass the examination for the license, Saral Sanjar portal of the Department of Telecommunications. So whenever you apply, you have to look at the current regulations at the time of examination, not what I am saying now. Then there is an exemption from appearing for Part A or Section A of the examination, Basic Electronics, for those who already possess a technical qualification, either an engineering degree in the field of electronics and communications or a diploma. You are exempted from appearing for the Part A of the examination. Obviously, you don't need to learn that. You already know that. And it will be very easy for you to appear for that examination if you already have a qualification. But you are exempted from appearing for Part A. You need to appear only for the Part B of the examination, Radio Regulations. There are so many technical students in our country, so that anyone can apply after they pass the regular examination. And we have thousands of radio amateurs in our country, while some of the countries have several hundred thousands of radio amateurs. So it's an exciting world awaiting you once you pass the examination and get the license. Now, if you are residing in a city where there is no wireless monitoring center, there is also a facility for conducting an examination in your own city. In fact, we had conducted one in our educational institution long back. So if you have at least 20 candidates, you can request for an examination to be conducted at that center, which should be an educational institution or an amateur radio club or society. So we can have that facility, but it needs advance intimation and permission from the WPC. So that is also possible. Many of the places it is also being carried out, but that is not routine. Routine is you have to go to the monitoring station and appear for the examination there, and after qualifying the examination, when the results come, you have to apply for the license. So in this series, we'll go through how to prepare for the examination a little more in detail on a regular basis, so that we can have many more radio amateurs on the air.